Hey, how's it going? So today, I'm just going to show you this so I don't have to say a bunch of stuff. I'll be talking about Furry Vengeance. There's who's in it, when it came out, my YouTube house cleaning information. I hope that was time enough for you to see it. If it wasn't, you know how to rewind. So, this is number 4. Wait, number 4? Number 5. Number 5 in my Brendan Fraser fan appreciation series. And it's it was a surprise because, well, it was a surprise how much I enjoyed it, and I shouldn't have been swayed by this in the first place. But when I was looking for where I could watch it online, it showed the Rotten Tomatoes rating, which I guess it was not good. It was pretty low. I also don't really care what like critics say, because especially like something will be made out of a book, like an adaptation of a book, and I have my own impressions in my head from what the story is, even if it gets turned into a film like Dune, which everyone thought was really terrible. But I don't know how David Lynch could have. Was it David Lynch? God, I hope I'm talking about the right person. I should look. Hold on. And this time I remember to pause while I'm searching. I'll be right back. Where's the thing? Yeah, so it's David Lynch. And a lot of people didn't like it. He had to hear a lot of crap about it too, but it's important to remember, if you care about those things and if you liked that movie and you like the Dune story and you like David Lynch and his work, you might take a minute to take into consideration the fact that he quit in the middle, like not in the middle of it, but he quit during production because uh, the company putting, oh my god, the company putting out the movie kept interfering with his editing process. There had to be a lot of exposition, because if you read the book, and I wonder if the film company did, a lot of the stuff that happens goes on in people's heads, like what they're thinking about. So it's not like you can pull the words out of somebody's ear and it's a little sign, you know? And for you to know what the story's doing, the exposition has to happen. The thoughts have to be told. Okay, sorry about that. What was I here for to talk about? Oh yeah. So Furry Vengeance. It got a bad review with Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't really take critics that seriously, because, as I said, I make my own impressions, and even if somebody tells me everything about the movie, I can still go see it and have none of that affect my personal uh, perception of it and enjoyment of it too. So anyway, I had made a comment in the last video that I was gonna not do the stupid stuff, which I consider to be like Encino Man and another one whose name escapes me at the moment, but they were his earlier films. And I really have kind of wanted to focus on his better material, you know, like where he's not like a clown, like in George of the Jungle, which I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember not being very impressed by it. Like I thought the cartoon was way better with, well, I'm old, but it was like George of the Jungle with Bella and Ursula. That one that you can only find on YouTube now. But I suggest you do, because it's actually pretty funny. And anyway, digressing away from what I'm here to talk about, Furry Vengeance. I chose it because it was free, honestly. And also, I figured, what the heck, I might just enjoy it anyway, because the listing says it's the story of a man who works for a green developer, which is kind of an oxymoron, because green and developer, well, real estate developer, they're going to come in and cut down the green, which is totally part of this movie. And so that was attractive to me, because I've just started to interact with people like earth justice groups and stuff, and I'm not sure what all I can do I mean, I signed up for some kind of training, but I missed the day, so I have to wait for the next round of recruitment. And that's fine because what I'll do is what I've always done is make sure I pick up my trash and deposit it into a proper receptacle, pick up other people's trash when I'm out and put that in the right place where it should go instead of on the street or just where they dropped it. Uh, and just, you know, try to consume as little, landfill mass as I possibly can. The infrastructure that's built up around us kind of works against you if you want to be conscientious. But the thing is I don't want to be like nagging people and, you know, doing things. I don't know. I want to operate on a much more subtle level than, tying myself to a tree or something like that. And a lot of it's because physically it's just like that'd be really freaking hard to do any of those things. So I have to content myself with doing what I can. But the feeling of wanting a clean, pleasant earth has been with me a long time because I grew up in LA, and when I was a little kid in the 70s, there used to be this commercial because the smog, like, was historic. Like, when they finally got rid of it, and I think it's come back now, but not as bad as it was when I was a kid. I mean, I came up with the logo, or not logo, but the motto of "Have a brown day" because the sky was not blue. It was like brown, greenish brown. It was not good. And we'd have these these sig alert days, which is some kind of smog thing. I never did bother to find out what sig meant because I don't have asthma. But I mean, I would labor a little for breath on those days and be out when they really recommended you shouldn't be, regardless of your condition. But when have I ever listened to anybody about anything? Well, not everything I don't listen to. I obviously listen to stuff or I'd be like dead or something right now. But there was this commercial, and I think I had to be between like 8 and 10 when it came out, and it showed a kid in a playground, and he was wearing a gas mask because just the regular old air, he couldn't breathe without it. Like it wasn't safe, is the implication that I got at that age. And still at this age, like, yeah, pretty much what it still means to me. And I was very not really surprised, I guess you could say, to see nearly that identical set of images or passage of images in one of the Terminator films by James Cameron. And I haven't really talked about it here, but sometimes I'll do a companion piece to a video with more text about what I want to say about the movie and why I picked it and blah, blah, blah. But I have mentioned that, and it's not just me that's noticed this, James Cameron is a brazen borrower. Like he'll just steal stuff. He'll steal material. But that's not unusual in Hollywood. This person that no one knows, except for a few people, because a few do know who I am, and for a reason, have taken my music and just put it in movies. And even someone that was working on it that was supposedly my friend and knew it was my music and knew nobody had any of my permission or even talk to me about it, that guy didn't even bother to tell me any of those things. Like I knew he was working on something and he didn't tell me exactly what, but it turns out it was the movie that they used my personal stuff that I wrote when I was a 15-year-old punk rocker in a band without even asking me. And the dude was talking to me at the time. And what was so weird about it is that I've always been kind of shy about like speaking about any intuition I may have, but every time I talk to that guy, I did something I never do. I never self publicize that band, like I never have. I never had to because one thing, I wasn't out like looking to be publicized or to be like all famous, whatever. But I mean, not thirsty. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't like all like self promoting all the time, constantly, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm content. And by the way, it happened like almost 40 years ago. So I understand it for what it is, but it's still compositions and lyrics that I wrote that have been put into this movie, and this guy knew it. And so the thing I never do was say, I wrote, 3/4 of those songs, as in 3/4 of that material belongs to me. It may not be at EMI, but on the little EP, it has credits, song credits. And so that alone is enough for me, if I wanted to take legal action and say, look, they even talked to people that were in that band and nobody said boo hooey fooey to me. uh, so, I mean, I know that it happens. And another time, this one really gets my goat because this I kind of do care about. And I did try to reach out to the people because I didn't want to say, hey, you took mine and blah, blah, blah. I wanted to say, hey, if you will pay me, I got more. But they never even like responded to me. And again, I didn't pursue legal action, which I'm entirely entitled to because I can't pay for it. So, yeah, how do you find a pro bono entertainment attorney? If you know, leave me a message in the comments because, yeah, that's really not cool. But anyway, Avatar is very green too, if you look at it that way. Okay, I'm done talking about that. Back to this movie. I have green in the head, but the last thing about, did I even say it in one? Yeah, I did say it. So in one of the Terminators, he basically stole that commercial where the child is not able to breathe because the air is fucked off. It left an impression on me, and obviously it did on him too, because it was, God, had to be like 15, 20 years later that movie even got finished and came out. So it was on his mind too all that time. And I don't know how widely broadcast it was. I thought it was just sort of exclusive to LA because we did at the time have the most talked about smog problem. Whatever. As long as he gets it, and is showing it to other people, like it can get in their heads and they can think about what they're doing. Like, I know that a lot of people have employment that has them like riding planes all the time and using materials a lot that create, I mean, just doing stuff that create pollution. And I'm thinking of one person in particular, but they have worked hard and they deserve, the benefits of their work. Like they've been able to have a nice home with land, and they had just built a home for a new flock of chickens they got, which is like, I wanted to live in it. It's like all it needed was some furnishings. And it's great that he can do that for himself and his family. But the thing is we can't like be that self-centered anymore because his kids are not going to have such a nice world to live in because their dad has been jetting around the world doing his job. I understand it's his job, but jet fuel is killing us. A lot of people doing it all at the same time is killing us. The military is the worst one, but they know. They even came out with a statement about it a few years back. Have they stopped doing it? No, they have. No one is changing their ways. Everyone's doing this stupid thing we do where we argue about stuff instead of just arguing about why what happened has screwed us up. It is not any progression toward fixing anything. So, I mean, I really feel like we all, especially those of us who are like, yeah, I know the problem exists, but I recycle. That's not enough. You know, if you have to go all over the place, then you need to find a slower, less, you know, fuel consuming and thus pollution spewing method of locomoting. We can't keep doing this. I don't even have kids, and I care about whether there's something here for the kids of these people or the parents of these kids we have now that don't seem to get it. And the capitalism, I swear, that's part of what's killing us. Is like we don't seem to understand that we need to break free from that model because it requires an underclass that has to suffer. It requires irresponsibility and like no regulations anymore. Like, and we're like, there are people that are ignoring what's happening to the planet that we all have to live on. Like, you can go to New Zealand and live in a tin can, but you can only do that for a temporary amount of time. Like, you ain't going to be able to replenish if the earth above you is being destroyed and you're hiding in a hole, not helping, spending money on hiding in a hole instead of spending it on the surface and trying to help. You know, like, there's lots of things people with money could be doing, and it's not all about solar panels and fans. There's like land preservation, restoration. You know, there's lots of pollution that we can do. Not all of it is impossible, like cleaning up nuclear crap or broken oil pipelines in the Gulf of Mexico. Like, we shouldn't let ourselves get paralyzed by all of what we can't do. I mean, just imagine if we all had the wherewithal to think about just picking up the trash around us. Like, if you went to a creek or something and there was cups and crap floating in the water, if you picked that out, that would make a difference. All kinds of little things like that could add up to a lot. Okay, so this movie, the the main character, the protagonist, Dan Sanders, thinks he's working for an eco-friendly company, but what it is they just say they are, and they're really horrible, and they want to take out a whole forest to put in a development. And the subplot is that lots of people have tried to settle the forest or take it out or alter it in such a way that it would just not be what it was. Excuse me. And in the show, it's the animals who are fighting. That's why it's furry vengeance. They're like, we have had it. We've been fighting this guy in a different guise for hundreds of years, and we're not going to do it anymore. And the way they are, get their revenge and rebel against the incoming land developer schemes is fully guerrilla. Like, they needed a gorilla for the guerrilla warfare. It was very cute and very like anthropomorphized, but still, I mean, it's making a point. It's doing it in a cute way, and I gotta say, it was hilarious. There's a ton of comedians in there. Here, I was cracking myself up when I thought of this, but let's see if I can get everything lined up properly. I know you can't see that, but I'm gonna say, here's where I've written the cast, right? But here it says plus funny people, because it has Samantha Bee, Jim Norton, Rob Riggle, Wallace Shawn, Patrice O'Neill, rest in peace, and Angela Kinsey. There's more, but my God, I mean, I'm not going to make it about every single person. I also included the children on the cast, and they do have pretty big roles, but they're not well-known names. And apologies to Matt Prokop and Skylar Samuels. They did fine work in here, but you got more famous people it's kind of stacked above you, so they're going to get the attention. There's a lot of slapstick in here. There's a lot of crotch shots. I'm sorry, but maybe it's growing up around a bunch of boys, but I do think that kind of thing is funny. I think dick jokes are funny. I think, crotch punch jokes are funny. There was a lot of great. Brendan Fraser was really good too. Like, his character took a beating. The animals just messed him up so good, but the skunk attacks were the best. And then it was really good when they finally got vengeance on the land developer, who is played by Ken Jeong, who his name is Neil Lyman, which, okay, whatever. I mean, it could be. He's just heinous, he doesn't like anybody or anything, and everybody has to do stuff for him, and he doesn't listen. Who does he sound like? What other land developer is a big jerk? Oh wait, most of them. Sorry, I forgot. Um, but it was good. It gave me a big laugh. It was a relief because you can see that the filmmakers understand that there is a situation and it's hard to take, and laughter is the best medicine. And I've been really kind of like having to strive to stay positive about like climate damage and, you know, stuff that's causing groups of people to sort of have to flee where they live, whether it's caused by man made or, like people against them, running them out of their land, or making it inhospitable in some way so that like their only choice is to leave because they don't have power to change stuff. It's going to happen to more and more of us, and we need to be less concerned with ourselves and try to be more helpful to those of us who don't have it as nice, as good as we do. I mean, that could be a big help too. Like just helping those people could help the whole situation. And you might say, well, how could that be? Like, why would, helping people that are, fleeing from a hostile homeland help the ecology? I don't know. I think when you were run off your land and it was almost untenable to be productive for your welfare, for your living, you might greatly appreciate the next place you land and want to just be the best shepherd ever. I mean, that's been the case with immigrants that come here anyway. They're very grateful to be here for the great majority of them. And they're more, they love this country more than many of us born here, and for the right reasons too, because they had to learn the history. And the way we learn it, well, I guarantee you, probably mostly anybody that comes here already came here with a better education, but they're gonna like just get the main thing, the main ingredient. They're not gonna get like political or personal slants on what information can be allowed in and in what form, and what the truth value in the information is can be negligible to not. I mean, would we give a terrible education in this country. I'm so glad that I got 4 and 5 years of Catholic school education that I did get before my mom finally took me out because everybody was kicking my ass all the time. And I was able to cruise in public school and not really have to try very hard to not just pass but do well. So, but I did notice that the information was contradictory. It didn't make sense. Like big chunks of expository was missing that didn't explain what was there, and like things that you knew from, well, I knew like because I got to read books that didn't have everything edited out of them when when I was a kid. uh, I'm just amazed that we even let it happen. Like, why did we grant Texas the right to make textbooks? They don't. Texas does not agree with the whole country. Like, there's other places where more of the country is in agreement with what they would be saying than racist KKK drag a black man behind the truck on the ground, not give the people proper power because the leadership in the government is going to make sure the rich people there already can take care of what their needs might be in a weather emergency situation. Like, they're equipped already, and will get help if they're not because they have money. But the poor people, like, just have to bite it. I have a lot of family there. Some of them are well off, some of them are really not. And so it was like, we I wouldn't mind being in touch with them, but they often do things like steal from me or lie to me or are just mean. They've driven me off basically, but I still care about their welfare. I mean, may not like them either. In fact, I have good reason not to like some of them at all. But if as long as I'm away from them and don't have to deal with them, I love them, and that's good enough. That's fine. But I don't want them to suffer. And they're so proud to be Texans, and I don't get it. That I don't think is going to be the case for much longer. Thank God there's just legions and droves of young people just stamping at the stamping their hooves and chomping at the bit. God, I'm a mess today. Chomping at the bit to get to work and fix the crap that everybody came before won't. But honestly, I don't think that we need we will get what we need by relying on the government. Like I think many of the systems that the government was intended to, take care of in order to protect people, like I just think it's been infiltrated so much by people that are not even there to be politicians. I think they're hired guns by corporates and Republicans like Manchin and Cinema. Like I've always just felt like they're Republicans. Whatever they call themselves, whatever they're saying, you just look at them and you see it. And then I found out that they get, and well, everyone did too. A phone call got leaked where Manchin's there licking Republican butts, the donor butts, to turn around and like basically crap on his constituents. But the thing is that dude can vote nationally too, and so can that woman Cinema. And I don't think, well, she's obviously has no she has no intention of doing anything. Her party, even her own party there in Arizona, are like, we're gonna get rid of you because you are doing nothing Democrat. And like, because she ain't a Democrat, that's why. So, and they're not addressing like the climate change thing either. I don't even call it climate change anymore because the people just want to argue about that. How about we deal with the reality, climate damage? The government is not really doing a whole lot on that either, and it's not like it's all like Biden has to do it now. It's like Trump didn't do anything, Obama didn't do anything, Bush didn't do anything, Reagan didn't do anything, Bush didn't do anything. Do I need to go on? I don't think that people that care about the environment and want something done and want people to just be treated more fairly as human beings first and everything else is second and less relevant, like all the culture war crap and the stuff we get prejudiced against each other about. Like that ain't gonna matter when it's 100,000 degrees outside and you gotta eat a bug husk because everything's dried up because we didn't do anything to address this. Thank God there's young people coming in wherever they go. If they're going to go in the government, like, good. If there can be more AOCs and more of the squad and more Sheldon Whitehouse and more Bernie and more, oh, what is the man's name? Jamie something. It was just in the Rangel? No, I think that's a different guy. But Jamie, he was just in the impeachment and he's been foremost, up front in all of the uh, I keep wanting to say trials, but um, he's helping. God, I hate it when I space out. Can't help it though. Kind of like, whoops, I'm here now. But anyway, there are people that want to be effective, and there are other people that want to, like, they don't understand. If they want to keep doing things the same way we were, or try to go back to the same stuff we were doing, that's a mistake. That is just, do you age backwards? No. Do the seasons go back? Like nothing goes backwards is my point. That's not what we should be trying to do. And I think it's all like either they don't want to upset themselves from their comfortable position where they've been ensconced way too long, a lot of them. Dianne Feinstein, I'm talking about you, girl. You need to stop. You're not even lucid, maybe once in a while, but like if you're repeating yourself and you don't even know that people around you are protecting you, like, no, you don't want someone that's not of a right mind controlling, heading committees of such importance. It's like putting a drunk, high ass person behind the wheel of a car with your newborn. Like, what are you thinking? It's crazy. I mean, whatever against her or not, the woman is not mentally fit. And it's not like a question like I had about Biden, because he's of an age where he could absolutely be senile. And when people ask you questions and you just snap at them, like I've seen people with Alzheimer's do that, like a lot of people. So that's why I thought what's going on. That's why I thought what was going on with him. And I think it could still be. So what if he exercises? You still don't see him in the evening much. And that is indicative of a condition called sundowning that people with Alzheimer's have, where they just like unravel when it gets later in the day. And the only thing that'll put them back together, such as it is, the next day is a night of sleep. But they may not be sleeping. They may be having night terrors and being aggressive and confused and angry, and like, I don't know if it's the case with him or not, but the man does know how to delegate, and he's getting things done that we're not getting done. He can't do everything. He still has to clean up the mess that Trump left behind and everybody before him, but, and that's going to take time. But also, the stuff that I was talking about before that is not going to get addressed by them, or at least not anytime soon. It's up to people not like tangled up in all those, like, God, I don't know. What is the thing where obligations, where you're not tangled up in all these obligations, except to make the world someplace where we can actually live like halfway comfortably before we just, I mean, species die. That's some part of our ecosystem that is not going to work anymore, because that species, no matter how invasive or horrible or icky we may have thought it, had a place in the chain, the food chain, the life chain that we are a part of. Like the bees, hello. I mean, God, like 10 years ago, we knew the bees were in trouble. And I was like, well, those fuckers in the government better be making bee drones, because we need those. And it's not just bees. I mean, there's other pollinators, but if the bees are being affected, how are the other ones not? They're bugs, not, machines, not, I don't even know what, or something that could fight it, but they're not that. We need to care about them. I mean, people get it. All I can say is thank God for the young people. Thank God for the young people. And I get stressed out about all of that. I try not to, because that doesn't help either. Adding stress to the general collective consciousness is not helpful. So I watched this movie, and I'm really glad I did, because it had me laughing, like guffawing, like screaming, almost like no. Like I ran off the cat, like I scared him, like laughing so hard that he was like ah, and ran away. It was good. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is talking about. Like if they were expecting it to be Shakespeare, they're dumb. Pretty obviously not going to be that. I liked it. Brendan Fraser was really good. He did not disappoint yet again. You know what? Hold on a second. It's so freaking hot in here. I got to pull the blinds. Why did I pull those out? Oh, I should have put it on pause. I'm a bad filmmaker. Okay. Whew. I can already feel that feel a little better. This damn hair, I swear to God, I had it up in a scrunchie, and then I let it down, and I had like a Roberta sideshow Roberta situation happening, but now it's just touching me and it's too hot. So anyway, the point, well, there's many points, but here's a good one. If you're kind of stressed out about climate damage and how it's, well, if you try to look to the future, it's hard to not see scary stuff or unpleasant stuff, but it doesn't have to be that way. We just need to devote some attention to the problem and stop acting like it's going to fix itself or it's going to go away, or if we do something that we shouldn't be doing as a whole collective of people that are, part of a social contract to say, not waste water. Like, oh my God, Las Vegas, don't get me started. Okay, but that's all I wanted to say about, that is what I wanted to say about furry vengeance. It was enjoyable. I'm gonna be cracking up. I may watch it again actually, but I'm gonna be cracking up remembering some things for a couple of days at least. And I don't know. I guess I just highly recommend it. Thank you and good night. Oh.